Hello from Tokyo. I'm in my adopted city, getting ready to welcome President Biden to the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. Have no doubt, my heart is still in my hometown, Chicago. For Chicago, today is a day of transition and transformation. It's also a day of hope and history. From a past mayor to our new mayor, I want to congratulate Brendan Johnson on his accomplishments.
Mayor Emanuel represents all that is bad when it comes to public education and just privatization as a whole.
You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Chicago, tonight is just the beginning. With our voices and our votes, we have ushered in a new chapter in the history of our city.
Sir, you are installed. Love you, brother. You take care of it, man. God be with you.
I am truly humbled and honored to stand before you as the 57th mayor of the greatest city in the world.
Hello, Chicago. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Chicago Corner. If this is your first time watching this train wreck, please like, share, and subscribe to all the channels and tell all your friends. My name is Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. And while I look for the background so I can bring in my co-host, I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Brandon Johnson on being the 57th, I think, right, Jerry? 57th mayor? 57?
It's only a train wreck on Tuesdays, Ed.
That's yeah, I stand corrected. It's only a train wreck on Tuesdays when I run the show the run, or however you say it.
Look.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate Mayor Brandon Johnson, of whom I was wrong in my original endorsement, although when he made the runoff, the choice was clear. And I want to congratulate everybody in Chicago who voted for Brandon Johnson and made this happen. I cannot tell you, Ed, or maybe I have off the air, what a sense of calm I have and hope. I don't want to sound too idealistic and too Pollyanna here. Time will tell how things go. Yeah. But given what Mayor Johnson has already shared and presented in his first day since he was inaugurated yesterday, I have some very high hopes for Chicago's future, especially in light of a very special segment we'll go into after we share inaugural clips.
Yeah, it's
10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a big Brandon show tonight, and we're gonna start off with some of the clips of how our local news media was covering it. Yes, a toast to Toast, and also the mayor of Chicago, new mayor of Chicago, and
give me a moment to mix my drink.
And and hopefully a brighter future for us and everyone else in our viewing area, and the internet and the entire world, and peace and love and all of that other stuff.
Cheers.
Was that enough stalling? Yes. Okay.
Yes. I needed that.
Yes. I am caffeinated but unleaded today. Well, unless you count the water. in the ice cubes.
I caffeinated earlier, so I had a lot of coffee, and now I'm treating myself because we have a reason to celebrate. Lori Lightfoot is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Rahm Emanuel before her, and as Godzilla hopefully did his work in Japan, as we shared at the beginning of the show. But especially in relation to Rahm Emanuel, you know, we've spent a lot of time, Ed, in the past couple of years since we took on responsibilities hosting and hosting this program, right, and presenting this program, in knocking Lori Lightfoot. But there was so much wrong before she took office that she basically picked up the reins of to continue, that when we share our little time capsule from 10 years ago, we're going to understand why not Rahm Emanuel, right?
It's like, that was 10 years ago.
Well, the seeds were planted.
But let's not get too far ahead. I want to give Brandon Johnson his due and give little bites of how local media was covering him in the last couple of days. So here we start with Liz Nagy from ABC7.
Brandon Johnson takes over City Hall as Chicago's most progressive mayor. In a passionate opening speech today, he preached the importance of unity and pleaded with other city leaders and the people to help him tackle Chicago's most urgent issues.
Ow, my ears.
With the fire of the son of a pastor, Mayor Brandon Johnson lit up the UIC pavilion.
Can you pause it for a moment?
What he called the
my first comment.
Chicago.
I don't understand how a professional news crew did not white balance their camera, that everything has that completely unnatural color tone to it. And I really don't want to speculate it was intentional, but I color corrected things for our intro.
Yeah, so for people who don't understand camera lingo, white balance is what you do to balance out the gradation from light to dark for your camera, so it shows the color and the image properly. Now it's an interesting place where we kind of paused here, because this is, I mean, they're giving the Black Power salute. They are not. This isn't the Hitler salute, although this is.
I didn't even think that, but
this is a little clip here of when they're actually singing what they call the Black National Anthem, which is, do I have that link? I don't know if I have that link in my show notes, but I should add it in there, because it's like, they call it the Black National Anthem, but I think it has another title, if you can give me just 1 second, I'll see if I can dig that up really quickly here. It's a song. I guess it's a song or a poem that's like 100 years old. It's called "Lift Every Voice and Sing," and I'm going to give you the link from. I'll give Jerry the link, and then I will give you the link in the live chat here from the NAACP, who explains the "Lift Every Voice and Sing" song. Which, if you hang on a second, maybe I should bring that up really quick here.
Art, I really hope you're wrong.
Okay, Art's saying that he's betting Jerry will not like Mayor Johnson within a couple of months. Something will drive a spike into the honeymoon. Okay, we're gonna remain cautiously optimistic here at Chicago Corner, and we're gonna see what happens. Here's the. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but often referred to as the Black National Anthem, "Lift Every Voice and Sing" was a hymn written as a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900. So it's not like this is some brand new thing they whipped out just for the mayoral inauguration.
It's not some woke thing to piss off all the racists on social media.
Well, it's not
already rallying for Brandon Johnson's failure.
Yeah, I would say it's not only that. Because, like, cry harder, guys. He's the mayor now. Let's get along with each other and try to help him make this big city better. I voted for him. I thought he was going to win. I feel like he's the next coming of Harold Washington myself, but we'll see what happens.
I'm getting those vibes too.
So let me get back to the video here, since yeah, it's the optics on this are not super great. I will admit that.
Interesting that they selected that, but also getting back to the original diversion, like how does a professional news crew not know how to white balance to properly present this historic moment as
Proper
professionally
lighting,
as possible? Yeah. That was shocking and
People of
disappointing to me.
Chicago are counting on us to work together, to collaborate, to make their lives better every day.
But accomplishing that will be no easy task. The former public school teacher and union organizer won a fierce runoff election with an electorate deeply divided on public safety and economic development.
Y'all know we need revenue. We have a structural deficit. And we have to invest in people. And we have to do that without breaking the backs of working people with fines, fees, and property taxes.
Okay, I'm on board with that so far.
That public safety agenda that he wants to get passed, treatment not trauma, and some of these other pieces, that's really, again, going to help unify so that we can have positive public safety in all of the communities in Chicago.
Chicago's first mayor, who will live on the city's far west side Austin community, Johnson injected humor and elevated the plight of so many people from his community.
You can't stop someone with a payment plan from becoming mayor of the city of Chicago.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was a nice stick in the eye of everybody who brought that up.
People were listening with enthusiasm.
He started calling out names to let people know, hey, let's get this together. Let's do it as one.
And waiting to see what happens with the new administration. In a passionate, open, Mayor Johnson touched on but didn't lay out specific plans on how he will tackle gun violence, a beleaguered public.
It's his first day. It's his first day. What was he going to
do?
They expected him to like pull out a PowerPoint at the inauguration and basically whip out all of his solutions in 40 minutes is what they expected.
I mean, technically it was a session of city council, but get real, people. Jerry's right. He's not going to whip out a PowerPoint presentation and tell you, here's all the little things we're going to be doing. While, it's like he's got his transition team in place. He's got 40 some days or whatever to get his permanent people in place. So I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack, although we are going to keep watching the bingo cards. Head over to chicagocornertv.com and click the link to get your Brandon bingo card. We basically came up with about 25 things on what we think he will do or what we think will happen in the first 30 days. I was fairly optimistic with most of my results just because I didn't have a ton of ideas at the time. I didn't have a lot of time to put it together, but download or load up your Brandon bingo card because you might want it in the first 30 days. We want to see what he's going to do.
I want to address Art's comment in the chat. Art, and I thought I was the bitter, cynical one. Here's where I respectfully disagree, my friend. Again, let's get through celebrating his inauguration from yesterday, and when we show the video from 10 years ago that show what brought us here from there, I think it reflects why I've got a little bit more hope and optimism in this mayor actually delivering what he's promised and what he's talked about. So, Art, keep that in mind when we get into the next segment. But go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, we got
Public school system and a daily influx of migrants.
A lot of the mayors have kind of dropped the ball when it comes to the inner city schools. So for me, that's the most important thing.
Now, I want to think past a he thing and look at it's a us thing. Like, we have to have skin in the game.
Political analysts point out this speech was simply Johnson laying his foundation. He's still working to assemble his team. One of those most high-profile jobs he'll have to fill is a new police superintendent. Johnson will preside over his first meeting here at City Hall next week.
Thank you, Liz Nagy. Okay, then we're going to flip over to, what was this? This was WGN with Mike Lowe.
I haven't seen this clip yet, but are we going to expect a right-leaning perspective?
It's kind of a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. I didn't even grab the Fox News stuff yet because I was like, okay, we can maybe save that for Friday because there's going to be so much to talk about Brandon Johnson in the coming months.
This week by Friday.
I mean, we've only got so much time in our show without ending up into tomorrow. So I'm trying to keep it as focused as I can, but you know how we like to drive off into the ditch and
No.
on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays. And also, you know, I mean, I recognize that, you know, I plan a show thinking we're going to fit it all in, but I also have to remind myself that we're a couple of windbags who like to talk a lot.
Well, but the thing is, too, look, we have the best of intentions. We have a lot of stuff to cover tonight, and actually, it's all very, very relevant. And I, you know, we get excited about what's happening because not only is it about us analyzing and commenting and sharing our opinions on it, which I like to think are formed from facts. We don't form our facts from opinions. We kind of do the right way.
I mean, I form my opinions from opinions.
Well, I try to form my opinions from facts, which is why quite often I find myself shifting course. I mean, I change course as more facts present themselves in front of me regarding both sides of the aisle or both.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it just, you know, takes us to, you know, to start revealing the facts and then working on the possible permutations of what the actual truth is, and then we form new opinions. So it's also very fun.
It's an evolution.
Inside my little Swiss cheese brain. Okay.
Hundreds of Chicagoans attended the People's Ball to celebrate the inauguration of the new mayor, Brandon Johnson.
According to the best of my ability.
Sir, you are installed.
Brandon Johnson took the oath of office, becoming the 57th mayor of Chicago.
I am truly humbled and honored to stand before you.
8,000 people packed the arena known to most Chicagoans as the UIC Pavilion. He delivered a nearly 40-minute address brimming with optimism and idealism, despite the city's well-known challenges and bitter divisions.
Those divisions are real. They are. Many people who love our city deeply have radically different ideas about how to confront the shared challenges that we face.
Johnson sketched a broad outline of his priorities.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to point out all the B-roll that WGN is throwing in here. Like the sky view of the city, you know, that you'll be looking at this and going, oh yeah, there's B-roll, there's B-roll, there's B-roll. They just took as much of the movie clip shots that they possibly could to throw into this story. So I just thought this was interesting.
Priorities, emphasizing the neighborhoods, increasing community
B-roll,
safety, embracing refugees,
B-roll,
fixing the
B-roll.
CTA, increasing resources for mental health, and funding for the public schools.
Yeah, but that's what you do when you're telling a
that
story.
may require new taxes on businesses.
We have a structural deficit, and we have to invest in people. And we have to do that without breaking the backs of working people with fines, fees, and property taxes.
The inauguration was off the chain. Now we're looking for a great ball.
Later, at the inaugural ball held at the UIC Forum, those attending included business leaders, policymakers, political donors, and everyday Chicagoans who made it the People's Ball.
I'm a resident of the West Inglewood community.
Gloria Williams says she attended the inauguration ceremony and she supports Johnson because of his common touch.
Oh, it's white balance.
It's time for change. The fact that he's a people person, he's able to relate.
Yeah, WGN appears to know how to use their cameras.
Yeah, you put a white, yeah, it's a technical thing. But it drives me crazy because it's so hard to correct afterwards in post. But also, it's like it gave all the other footage, and I don't want to like keep harping on it, but it's like this is a momentous historic occasion yesterday, and that the technicians aren't properly reflecting the color spectrum and making it look dark and dour and gray,
and blue. Yeah,
I'm like, how do you do that, man? How do you screw up such an important moment on the technical side to really make this moment shine? As
this video is a lot warmer. They got decent lighting here too, so you can tell that they actually made an effort to get a good result here.
Yeah, or even in post, they
Other
fix it.
attendees say they hope the new mayor's message of collaboration and cooperation
Even this shot
is well received by the city council.
It's going to take a city council of 50 aldermen to work with him.
Oh, there's Mark
to see his
Wallace.
vision through.
I'm just hoping everyone can come together and support this new administration and do good work for Chicago.
Hey,
No doubt
Ed?
some very serious issues await the
Yeah.
Where were our invites?
I don't know. I heard Erica was there though.
I saw Erica was there. Yeah, we're not important.
She
That's all right.
posted. She was posting live on social media when Common was performing.
Yeah.
So I got to see a couple minutes of that.
We'll stay here in the trenches and do the dirty work.
That's okay. I mean, I probably would have tapped out after an hour anyway. Just I'm not as young as I used to be.
We're not as special as the other beautiful people, but whatever.
It's okay. I can't keep up with the kids these days.
The mayor tomorrow morning, from violent crime to the migrant crisis, but tonight was all about celebrating the inauguration before the work begins in earnest.
Okay. And then we had where were we at? CBS 2. We're back. Oh, we are. That's right. I didn't play CBS 2 yet today. So let's switch over to CBS 2, where they're using that wonderful play on words of
in today's handoff to Joe and Erica, the handoff that took place here in Chicago.
That's what she said. Handoff.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot called the
easy now.
Why would? Okay, whatever. Let's go. The handoff.
Say
How
even
about the transition? How about the transition?
Okay.
in Chicago. Of course, we're talking about what former Mayor Lori Lightfoot called the peaceful transfer of power.
Yes, Jim, Erica, Joe, and I were all honored to be a part of that coverage of today's historic event. We already showed you some of the biggest moments. Now we'd like to show you a few moments that stood out to us. I'll go first. I'll tell you, being in the room, this was really powerful. A gracious moment between Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson in a time when campaigns can be nasty, and in what was a really hard-fought mayoral race. This was a really moving moment for a lot of people in this room.
Okay, well, I'm glad that was moving for somebody. I mean, in this case, it's Lori knows she's going to be living here, so she's got to get along with him.
Yeah, but Chelsea, here, Ed, how I perceive this also, he's been very, very gracious to his adversaries.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he even like gave Paul Vallis props on when Vallis conceded, I think that this guy's got class. It's as simple as I can assess it. The guy's got class, and despite the fact he's got differences with so many of his opponents, adversaries, whatever you want to call them, at least he dignifies what they're doing with respect, which is what we should all be offering each other.
Yeah, and after this video, you're gonna be amazed at what Jerry has to show you next. But let's get through this one.
Okay.
Again, just gracious is all I can say.
And they both were gracious. And you know it was painful for Mayor Lightfoot.
Right.
You know?
Yes, it had to be.
But yet she was gracious, and so was her successor. Yes. I was struck by the new mayor talking about his parents, paying tribute to his mom and his dad and his father, a pastor and a carpenter.
Now, he was a carpenter and a pastor. You understand the pressure growing up in a house when your father is just like Jesus?
Yeah, we've heard him deliver that one on the campaign trail a couple times. I mean, it's a solid joke, right?
I don't think anybody's like Jesus, though, but whatever. Yeah. I respectfully disagree, but okay.
Good humor.
He's talking about how Jesus was a carpenter.
I get that, but it's like kind of a broad.
know.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to say anymore. I'm agnostic, so it doesn't really matter, my opinion.
All right. Well, I mean, I grew up Jewish, so I get to have an opinion on Jesus. And my basic opinion is that he was angry at a lot of people. He used to flip tables and he threw out the money changers. And there should be a lot more people like that Jesus than the one that they pretend he is in all those evangelical conglomeration grift churches.
Well, let me clarify, Ed. I was brought up Greek Orthodox Christian, so that is the narrative that I was also taught as a young kid, right? He was a radical. And that's one of the things that I admire about Jesus, if he did indeed exist and wasn't the amalgamation of a lot of different stories that were cobbled together over hundreds of years to help form the foundation for a religion. That said, I think that the ideals of what Jesus Christ represented, whether you're a Christian or whether you're agnostic or whether you're Jewish or anything else, represent an ideal of a golden rule that we always point to, that like, just treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's with fairness and equity and understanding. So, the fact that I always parse things with I'm agnostic doesn't mean that I don't recognize and respect and actually admire and actually acknowledge the teachings of any religion, right? Whether it's Christ or Judaism or anything else, as far as like how you're supposed to treat people, because they're all pretty much the same. Different faces for the same message.
Okay, I was this close to hitting the Steve Martin button. Okay.
Oh, that's reserved for you.
I was so close.
Very serious moments in that address, but some good humor and a lot of passion.
It's true.
The other point on the humor thing that our analysts talked about as well was Johnson's use of something that happened to him late in the campaign that he turned around to use almost to his advantage. And he joked about that as well today, his delinquent water bill.
You can't make people feel bad because they have a payment plan. You can't stop someone with a payment plan from becoming mayor of the city of Chicago.
Hey, at least he paid his campaign workers too, right?
Strategic moment to turn it in his favor and show that he really is one of the people. And, he talked about inclusiveness and collaboration. He is just one part of that. And one of many who has a payment plan.
The crowd ate that moment.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you.
Well, thank
Made
you.
him it made him much more relatable, didn't it, Ed?
Can't go. Do this.
No.
Paul Vallis thought that gotcha moment was going to destroy him. And it's like, no, everybody who's dealing with the outrageous, obscene utility rates can identify and recognize everybody falls behind on utility bills. So what a crock of shit that they tried to use that against him.
Yeah. So I've got links in the show notes for those 3 videos, as well as links for the inauguration speech. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, it was about 40 minutes. And also I found a link on Twitter of the full event if you wanted to watch it all the way from the beginning. But we're not going to do that here. I'm not going to hit you with 40 minutes. I mean, we definitely could have done a whole separate show.
We thought about it. We thought about doing basically a reaction, and maybe we will. Maybe we can do that and just post it as a video, Ed, because I was really moved by his 40-minute inauguration. And though we couldn't cover it live yesterday morning because you were at work and I was working also, I think it would be interesting to, like, point by point, reflect and analyze on the stuff that he's presenting that, is being maligned now on social media.
Actually I can talk about how for the moments that I was watching the thing during the day in the different live chats, there are just dregs of humanity posting in there, super racist, super fascist, anti-human things in the live chats during the inauguration speech. And I'm like, why are you even here? You seem like you don't even want to be there. Why are you posting? Why are you even watching?
Rooting for failure. That would affect everybody.
Yeah. And I'm like, maybe move to Florida or 1950s America,
but
with the nearest time machine, if you can find one, because that's where a lot of these comments were coming from.
I would also venture to guess and bet money that most of those comments you're talking about came from people living in the suburbs.
That and possibly police.
Yeah.
Or
police
Vallis supporters.
Yeah.
There was I even saw one Lori Lightfoot supporter who was like super transphobic, but like trying to be supportive of Brandon at the same time. And I'm like, what the hell kind of twisted bag are you on?
How can you support a queer mayor and be transphobic? That doesn't really. That
it was weird. It was weird. Anyway, so like the weirdest kind of people end up in some of those live chats sometimes. We have the best ones in ours, though.
We do.
And
hey, Kira, we're talking about you. Thanks for joining us tonight, even though you can't be on camera.
Yeah, but I'm glad that Kira is able to join us in live chat. We had a guest that we were going to bring on tonight, but we figured we should devote a little more time to Brandon Johnson, and since she was willing to come back next week, hopefully, I think that's what we confirmed.
Well, here's what happened. There was so much Brandon Johnson news. When I looked at the show notes, I'm like, Ed, this poor woman Veronica is who's member of one of the local police districts now, and is also an author of a book, is going to be waiting till like 9 o'clock to come on. So why don't we just?
Or we basically would have had to hit pause on the Brandon Johnson stories, have the interview, and then come back and finish them, right? Because there was so much. I mean, I always think positively that I can always cram the stories in before the guest comes on, but Jerry's like, I don't think this is going to happen.
No, here's what it was, Ed, really quickly. I just want to address it really quickly. All of the stories you compiled in the show notes deserved analysis and time to spend on them that they needed. And I didn't want to feel like my perception was I didn't want to rush through them so that we didn't make the guest wait, because she didn't deserve that. So it was like one or the other. Do we do the full Brandon Johnson stories, which are historic and really need coverage, or do we like rush through them? And it's like, no, let's. And thankfully, Veronica was very, very understanding, and I left her a message, so we'll have her on Tuesday. And we can really focus on this historic moment regarding Brandon Johnson's service as our 57th mayor.
Yeah, and actually, we may have more to talk about with her when Brandon Johnson has another week under his belt. So, so it might end up being worth all of our while to wait a week for this interview. So, hello, Oreo. Oreo saying hi to everybody. He's like, dude. He's like, I can see you out there.
So Kira is reminding us in the chat that I'll look that up, Kira, and share it at the end of the show. I know it was time sensitive to help promote her reading also.
Oh, okay.
That was a big part of why we were trying to juggle things. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, if Kira, if there's a link to that event or anything, if you want to post it in the live chat, and we can share that as well.
Yeah.
So now we're getting to the part of the show where we talk about what happened 10 years ago. Carrie Leiterson wrote a book called Mayor 1% about Rahm Emanuel.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And Jerry found this amazing video that was from C-SPAN's book TV show from, I believe, November of 2013.
I can't take full credit, Ed, because one of the local news networks, I think it may have been CBS, commented on the fact that Brandon Johnson basically predicted in this C-SPAN book conversation on Mayor 1% when he was an organizer and a teacher during the Chicago teacher strike back in 2013, how it was going to be important to rally around an organizer who understood all of the concerns of the average Chicagoan. So, Art, I hope you're paying attention here, because so I went and actually looked up the full 2.5-hour C-SPAN book TV video, of which Ben Jarofsky also participated in. And you know what strikes me, Ed? All of the news organizations, all they paid attention to was Brandon Johnson's comments on a radio interview about defunding the police.
Yeah,
Can you imagine had they looked at this video from 10 years ago and presented this instead? Because it fully represents where we were and why we got to this place, with Lori Lightfoot basically being a speed bump. Okay, so let me I compiled the highlights from this C-SPAN book TV video, and you will be astonished at how prescient and how much Brandon Johnson was foreshadowing the future at a time where I can't even imagine his running for mayor was a blip on his radar. So, without further ado, this is from C-SPAN.
It's an honor to be a public school teacher. And
10 years ago, everybody, pay attention.
And the threat against public education is not a conspiracy. It's real. The attack on public education, we can find the attack on public education at the very inception of this country. I think it's interesting that before Rahm Emanuel became the mayor of Chicago and there was some flirting of him running, the president of the United States said that he thought that Mayor Emanuel would make a great mayor. Little did we know that he was only speaking for the 1%. And I think that we have to be extremely critical of both political entities that are dead set on destroying public education. And when you look at the narrative around this country, and you see Republican governors, Democratic mayors that are all committed to the interests of private corporations that want to shape education in their image.
Paul Vallis?
Let's also be very clear that these are the same corporate interest groups that have found their foothold here in Chicago, that are also looking to turn a profit off of public education.
Everything we've been talking about.
In Chicago, the budget for public schools is $6 billion.
I wonder what it is now.
It's a lot of money that the corporate interest groups want to make sure that they have their hands on. And so we have to be very clear, just like we've introduced here in Chicago what a fight could look like around the country, that the group that says that they are in favor of our children, that they want to provide choice and opportunity for our parents,
Jerry,
they're not telling the truth. They're being extremely disingenuous. You
Can
cannot
you pause real
separate
quick?
public.
Yeah, I was just looking to get the mouse over there. Go ahead.
Okay, so 2013, Brandon Johnson says the Chicago Public Schools budget was $6 billion. It is currently $9.4 billion.
It's a lot of money.
So that's in 10 years.
A lot of money for private charter interest schools, private charter school interest to get their tentacles over on top of around. Remember, guys, Art, 10 years ago, he was talking the talk and walking the walk after that big teacher strike, which Rahm Emanuel tried to destroy the teachers union. When you hear his concerns for students, you're going to understand that's why we're at this moment here. And the guy was true from 10 years ago through now what he ran on. All right, let me resume the video.
Public education from the conversation of poverty, because poverty in this country actually matters. And so when we begin to do a diagnostic test, if you will, on the public schools here in Chicago, we discover that over 160 schools in Chicago did not have public libraries. It's going to let that sink in for the rest of the world. That children were going to school every single day without access to a library or librarian, where class sizes were out of control, 35, 40 kids in a classroom, or even worse, some students did not have a regular assigned teacher to their classroom. No proper ventilation, no air conditioning, no books for our students. This is the city that launched the first Black president, but we can't get books for students?
Interesting, isn't it, Ed? We always lean down the city that launched the first Black president while leaving all the Black kids in Chicago behind.
Yeah.
There's something terribly wrong with the country that will pride itself as this great inclusive situation that will deny poor people the opportunity to learn. And so as the CTU began to expose the fact that the mayor was pushing a longer day, even though he was not going to fund it, the mayor began to push for a longer day, even though there was no evidence that a longer day was going to result into better learning outcomes. Not only did we expose the fact that we didn't have libraries, no books, no proper ventilation, no air conditioning, class sizes were out of control, where most of our students did not have art and music. We're talking about very basic fundamentals for our children to be able to learn and to flourish. This mayor was dead set on moving failed policy that did not deal with the big issue, which was poverty. After the strike, the mayor of Chicago was determined to destroy the CTU. And so what did he do? He moved an agenda to not only close down schools, but to close the largest number of schools in our nation's history. And so thousands of parents organized marched for days, connected with community leaders, connected with their pastors, connected with their school leaders to say with a resounding voice that we do not want our schools closed, because research tells us that closing schools does more to harm our students than actually help them. This is the city of Chicago. This is America. And poor children are being forced to walk through territories that are not only not safe, but once they got to the schools, all the things that the mayor promised, he did not deliver. And then he took it one step further, where school budgets have been drastic.
Nothing changed from 10 years ago, as Art mentioned in the chat.
Yeah, it's like they hit the pause button and then just hit resume.
From Ron to Lloyd.
Yeah, and everything that Brandon's saying 10 years ago is the same things he was saying today, because not much has changed.
Because he recognized it's like that pause button. We needed to figure out how to put it in the right direction. That's what his whole platform was about.
Reduced, where in some cases 9, 10, 15 teachers have lost their job because of this mayor's policy to defund public education. And one of the other big elephants in the room, and I'll close with this.
I love this.
Is that you cannot have a conversation about public education without having a conversation about race.
And that's not race baiting. That's fact.
And the schools that were closed were overwhelmingly in Black and brown.
And let me clarify that, because we've talked about this on the show. The fact that there's an inequity between schools on the south and west sides and those on the north side or in the surrounding suburbs. The quality of education in schools on the north side and in the surrounding suburban residential areas is not the same as the south and west side. And they should be. And he's speaking directly to that.
Communities. And we're seeing this across the country. But in Chicago, it's actually mind-blowing, because this is quite personal. I'm raising 2 boys in Chicago. Yes, they both happen to be Black as well. Very attractive young boys, by the way. But my oldest son, who is now in kindergarten, so I'm a CPS parent, a proud one, by the way. But our neighborhood school was closed. No one asked me whether or not my school should be closed. And so now my sons and the kids that he's growing up with do not have access to a public neighborhood school. Not only did the school closings overwhelmingly affect Black children, but it also affected.
Once again, Ed, what did the media glom onto? Not this. Not any of this. The radio interview where he mentioned he thought that defunding the police was a good idea, which really meant reallocating resources. That's what they glommed on. Not this. I mean, I edited 9.5 minutes of highlights. He went on much longer, but let's continue.
Black teachers. Over half of the teachers that lost their job were Black. And we've seen this gradual decline that was actually implemented or started 20 years ago when the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Daley at that time, took complete control of the public school system. And then he had this ingenious idea to put Paul Vallis in charge of the public school system.
Who? Wow.
And if you look,
wow. How did it come full circle from 10 years ago? Ed, this is like a screenplay, right? The foreshadowing from 10 years ago to he runs for mayor against the guy he was basically pointing to as being a big source of the problem.
Yeah, that's this is how Brandon got Vallis's number. He's had it for 10 years.
Yep.
At Paul Vallis's record, Paul Vallis is actually the grandfather of privatization and corporate takeover of public schools. And so Paul Vallis has gone to Chicago, where public schools have been destroyed. New Orleans, public schools have been destroyed. Philadelphia, public schools have been destroyed. You get the point. And finally, when he got to Connecticut, those folks up there said, "Oh, we know what you're about." And they sent him packing, but they sent him back to Illinois.
Get the fuck out.
They sent him back to Chicago, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. To our
no way. So we got to figure out somewhere else for him to go. But the
Palos
move
Heights
of the mayor
wasn't good enough
to continue to privatize public schools, to close these schools while at the same time calling for more charters is something that's not only going to exacerbate the loss and the decline of Black teachers, but it continues to stratify our school systems where you have intensely
Do we understand now why he had to step up?
poor Black children in a concentrated school with very limited resources, and the very people who Black children tend to look towards for some sort of guidance and hope, that group is being denied. And so my last point here is that as Chicago, with the first Black president sitting in the White House, the policies that are being moved by Arnie Duncan are destructive.
Now, here's what I love about this too, Ed. He's not pulling any punches when it comes to the Democrats 10 years ago when Obama was in office.
Yeah,
he wasn't pulling, he was holding them as accountable as Democrats at the time would hold the Republicans, which basically illustrates, again, nothing's changed. Both sides are the same side of the oligarchy, the duopoly. Now, we understand he has to play nice with the Democratic Party now that he's the leader of Chicago, and we're going to have the Chicago Democratic Convention here. But look, man, he was awake back then, shining light on the inequity and the fact that the Democrats have left everyone behind as well with Arnie Duncan and all their their neoliberal privatization schemes.
I want to share something really quick because it's extremely relevant, and it's actually some of you may be aware I have a parody Twitter account called Bacon for President. Well, he started tweeting in about 2011, and so 1 year before this book TV thing aired, I had been basically calling out the same stuff Brandon Johnson was calling out.
Wow.
I titled it "The School Privatization Scam." Step 1: funnel all public school funding to other city projects and questionable TIF fund recipients. Step 2: borrow money from teacher pension funds, suck all the money you can out of the budget for beautification projects, and claim poverty. Step 3: make unsupported claims about alleged superiority of private charter schools that your friends and contributors coincidentally have a stake in. Step 4: continue draining public school funding so public schools struggle, then claim that schools need to be closed, consolidated, and replaced with charter schools. So I was on top of this too, but Brandon Johnson was in the right place at the right time here. And I just thought it was interesting that I actually, at one time in my life, was totally on top of the subject.
I think that Ed has always been on top of the facts, which is why he's such an important part of this program. And that's amazing, Ed. Yeah. Incredible. I mean, I think at that time, I think I transitioned into realizing what a fucking phony Obama was when he ran the second term, and he would not go find his comfortable walking shoes to join teachers that were striking in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
that was my wake-up call.
Yeah, he claimed to have all these organizer bona fides,
yeah,
however you pronounce
bona
fides, or however you want to say it. And then when it came time to actually fight for us, he can't find his shoes.
Exactly, and well, it said, yeah, you were ahead of the curve.
This is such a crock of shit.
Anyway, back to Brandon Johnson 10 years ago. Let's kind of get to the finish line here.
W.E.B. Du Bois said it this way, that public education at the expense of the state in the South in particular, after all, is a Black idea. We cannot allow the Black idea that moved this country forward be destroyed while the first Black president sits in the White House. The role that the Democratic Party has played in the destruction of public education, we have not shied away from that. It's quite clear from Cory Booker to Mayor Nutter to Rahm Emanuel. These are all Democratic mayors, and so as a Black man, I always get a little uncomfortable when both parties agree on what to do with Black people.
Yeah.
And so in terms of who we support, or who I would support in any election, one of the things that I'm actually quite cautious about is this need to find a candidate. What I think this room should continue to do is to actually elevate the issues. Because as been laid out, there's no Superman, there's no hero. The heroes are actually those in the room right here that are on the front line every single day. And if a candidate emerges out of the movement, then let's push that individual or individuals forward. But I'm confident that we will rise out of the dust as we continue to organize, and candidates will emerge. And who knows, those candidates just might be in this room.
Uh-huh. Who knows?
How about that?
Yeah, I watched the entire thing, and if you have time after the show is over, I don't. It's what, an hour and a half or something.
Hour and
like
a half.
that?
Yeah, it's worth
Yeah.
watching.
It's
there's
definitely
a lot of commentary from Jarofsky also, Ben Jarofsky.
Yeah, so like, yeah, all the speakers had great commentary, but also some of the audience had comments and questions after, and they were spot on too. So it's like, and they're asking all the same questions that we all should be asking. It's, I can't, my memory isn't working, but you really should watch this thing because it's
in the show notes, everybody. You can go to C-SPAN and watch it. I really think, and again, the reason I wanted to bring attention to this is that this is the video that all the news stations should have been playing while he was campaigning and talking about these issues. But what did they do, Ed? Instead, they decided to focus on the divisive issue of defund the police, which basically divides people on racial terms and basically gives them ammunition to say, oh well, he's a racist because he wants anarchy, man. This is all about black culture, which is what we're seeing on social media with these fucking knuckleheads who aren't brave enough to like put their social media profiles up there with their photos with white hoods on, right?
Yeah, and instead of recognizing the needs of the Chicago public school system, they chose to make the teachers union some existential threat against the city, on par with corporate interests and the police union. And I'm like, why? How is anyone buying this?
There are still people on social media who are defending, excusing Paul Vallis without acknowledging the fact he hasn't paid his campaign workers, man.
Yeah.
The financial wizard who was going to turn Chicago around paid $700,000 to Amara Enya's brother to put up and take down lawn signs that he filed a lawsuit against him for because he didn't win the election and now it's sour. He's got buyer's remorse. That's the guy they thought would like fix the city when he was an empty suit that was basically going to represent all the corporate privatization interests that wanted to come in here and scoop the rest of it up after Emmanuel and Lightfoot.
Yeah. And the crazy thing now is that all these knuckleheads on social media right now are saying how Brandon's going to turn Chicago into the next Detroit. And I was like, he's not the one who was trying to privatize anything that wasn't nailed down. I mean, so it's just it's a disconnect in their brains, I think.
Well, this is why, Ed, I keep reiterating. I hope I'm not wrong. Okay. This is that video, I think, makes me even more grounded in thinking that we finally have somebody on the fifth floor who's actually going to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. That's a 10-year-old video. Yeah. And I don't think that this man's spirit and soul has changed at all since then. If anything, it was what nurtured him and gave him the power and the strength and the resolve to run. Hey, when Brandon Johnson announced, I was like, who's this guy? Cook County Commissioner? Nobody knows who he is. Nobody cares. I was thinking of like looking for that video on our Chicago Corner page because again, it's like I was fucking wrong and I'll acknowledge it. Boy, was I wrong. Because I'm like, I'd never heard of him. I didn't know what he'd done. But also, Ed, I didn't know that this video from 10 years ago existed.
Yeah.
Showing
well, and it took us a while.
Right.
And what we had to do, like a lot of people had to do, was a bit of research, not just in the history of Brandon Johnson, but the history of Chicago. And fortunately, we had Punch 9 for Harold Washington come on our radar and realize that Harold Washington wasn't very well known either when he started his campaign, even though he was in Congress, right? And he had some political chops, but very few people thought he had a snowball's chance in hell. And they just had he had a really, really good ground game, and he had a lot of people who decided that they were going to band together to try and get him elected.
And he ascended. And now, what are we looking at, Ed? Council Wars 2, the sequel with Ray Lopez replacing Verdoliak.
Very possibly. Although, and we do have a video. I wanted to see how much we could stand of a 7-minute video of Ray Lopez talking to Fox Digital or whatever, because it's like it feels like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth when he speaks. So sometimes you think maybe he's sincere and really wants the best for the city, and other times you're like, is he just trying to get political points in here? And it's like he goes back and forth.
Yeah, I think everything about him is just calculated.
Yeah,
just pandering to like basically serve his own agenda. But
it felt that way. Yeah. So now that we took a look back, let's take a look at yesterday. Start with social media here. Gregory Pratt posting on Twitter: bizarre transition note. Rahm Emanuel's Chicago mayor was archived and the handle reverted to the city. Lori Lightfoot's was renamed.
Archive Mayor Emanuel. That's great. Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Said Mayor Rahm. Brandon Johnson's is starting from scratch. So we click over to Brandon Johnson's, and you can see his Twitter. He's got his family on his background there, and there's Brandon, father, husband, organizer, and advocate for all residents, 57th mayor of Chicago. And he had actually a link to the live proceedings of his thing there. He's got links to his live stream. Here he is with this brand new headshot.
I wish I found that for our show open. I was trying to find his new mayoral portrait. I guess I missed it.
That's okay. We've got it handy now.
Okay. Oh, very nice, Ed. Very nice.
Yeah. So anytime we need to use, and then if we need to really push the point here, and this one I'm gonna use very sparingly.
We don't, because we don't want it to be mistaken with this.
No, I mean it's completely different. I mean he doesn't have dead eyes.
No, he doesn't.
Like a doll's eyes.
He's got a very warm. Look, everybody's gonna think, oh my God, you guys are like absolutely like Pollyanna. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. You know what? If we're wrong, we'll be wrong, but I hope we're not wrong.
So, we're going to be covering him a lot. So I figured it'd be good to have some fresh overlays of Brandon Johnson. So that's a good one. That's a keeper. And then what else? So he's going to be posting a lot of social media stuff over the next week here. His first day in office, he signed 4 executive orders. And I was like, okay, what were they? So let me see if I can find that. Here we go. NBC Chicago has that information. Brandon Johnson signs executive orders on first day in office. Here is a breakdown, if it'll let me scroll. Stand by.
Ed, can we take a moment while you scroll for the live chat?
Yes.
Good question, because we always love integrating our commentary from our viewers in the live chat. Art asks, do you really think he'll make a difference? The city machine will destroy him politically, and the citizens will destroy his soul when issues and crimes get worse and worse. It's just too late. Art, I think he will.
Yeah,
I looked to that documentary we sat through, Ed, Punch 9 for Harold Washington, and I'm seeing literally like it's deja vu. So look, Art, it's not going to be smooth sailing all the way, but will he make a difference? I think he's going to make some difference, maybe not all the difference we hope for, But based on what we just shared of him with his vision from 10 years ago, I think he's going to make a dent. At the very minimum, I think he's going to make a dent, and that's what we're hoping.
Yeah, I mean,
incremental change.
It's absolutely understandable to be pessimistic, considering the decades of corruption that Chicago has been dealing with. So, while I don't think he's going to be able to completely dig us out of the Chicago ditch that the last several mayors have dug for us, I think he's got a lot of good people in place that at least will help him try and make a difference.
And I would counter with this, Ed.
Yeah.
Art, do you think there's anything about Brandon Johnson from what you've seen and how he campaigned that remotely remind you of Rahm Emanuel or Lori Lightfoot? See, no, I don't think there is. And that difference is why I'm crossing my fingers and holding out some hope that he will make a dent, if not the more impactful difference we're all basically like, clinging, holding on for dear life for.
Yeah. So here we are. He's got 4 executive orders. Yeah. Papal Penguin Gaming says Brandon Johnson will do a great job. We hope so. We think he's got a lot going for him, but again, we don't exactly know what's going to happen.
And we'll be honest, what's this show? We're not journalists. We're 2 blowhards with an opinion who are trying to provide analysis and commentary based on the facts as they roll in.
Yeah.
And we will hold him accountable if he reneges on stuff. Look, I voted for Lori Lightfoot. How many people voted for Lori Lightfoot thinking that she was going to be the progressive reformer she promised to be? What we missed was that she was a Fed, right? Johnson is an organizer from CTU who's got kids' best interests in mind, I feel. He's got the working class's best interests at heart, I feel, from what I've seen and what I saw from that clip from 10 years ago. So let's all, like, for once, I can't believe I'm hearing myself say this. But let's be optimistic, because I'm like the most bitter, pessimistic person I know.
There's so many other things to be pessimistic about. I mean, this is day 2 of Brandon Johnson's mayoral run, so I'm gonna stay optimistic for at least a few more days. So Kathy Powers is already calling him Mayor 99%.
I like that.
Yeah, that's appropriate because he's like the polar opposite of Rahm Emanuel.
Now, Art also, he's not Rahm or Lightfoot, but he's not strong enough with the Force. He's Luke Skywalker going off to fight Vader when he's not prepared. But Luke Skywalker, prevailed in Return of the Jedi, Art. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, he already had his Yoda connection with the CTU, with the former CTU head. What was her name?
Karen
Lewis.
Karen Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, so
she was his Yoda. Seriously, man. She was going to run for mayor. Sadly, she passed. I think she had brain cancer.
Something, yeah.
She was ready to run. Basically, Karen Lewis was positioned at that time 10 years ago, right, to run against Rahm. Didn't happen because she got sick. Brandon is the Return of the Jedi. We'll see. Let's not be too silly about it.
It's very convenient for us to have Star Wars metaphors right now. But so the 4 executive orders. Let's just go through them really quick here. Okay, he says, as your mayor, it's my duty to take bold, immediate action to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. Yeah, well, that's his deal. The first of 4 orders seeks to boost youth employment by instructing the city's Office of Budget and Management to analyze resources in the fiscal year 2023 budget that are available to fund youth employment and enrichment programs.
Which will impact the root cause, which will hopefully impact the root causes of what, Ed? Crime.
Well, yeah, at least some of it.
Some of it, yeah. Not all of it, but some of it. It'll start addressing that, which we're talking about. Start focusing on the root causes to prevent and help kids from drifting into desperate circumstances whereby they're not making the right choices.
Yeah, so it says the order also instructs the mayor's office to coordinate youth employment and enrichment activities among city sister agencies and city departments for summer internships and community service opportunities, according to the news release. Okay. Johnson also signed 3 executive orders establishing new deputy mayor positions. Okay, it's not city manager, but maybe this will be similar. It says he's the first of which is a deputy mayor for immigrant, migrant, and refugee rights. Okay, that's cool. The person who takes on the role will be responsible for coordination and communication relating to the city's efforts to support immigrants, refugees, and migrants, whether established or new arrivals. Under the order, all city department heads will be instructed to take direction from the deputy mayor to assist with the efforts to address immediate needs and longstanding policy and programmatic goals to ensure the efficacy of Chicago's status as a welcoming and sanctuary city. All right, that's cool. The next one, additional executive orders establish a deputy mayor for community safety who will focus on eradicating the root causes of crime and violence and advance a comprehensive healing-centered approach to community safety, and a deputy mayor for labor relations.
And if I can interject, we previously reported on the fact that previous mayors have not appointed a city manager or had the deputy mayor cover anything because they were control freaks.
Yeah,
and
so
this
is
is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it's still not a city manager, but by adding a few more people, to delegate some of these things, it's going to make things run smoother. It should, in theory.
Right.
Okay. This position will allow coordination to foster, promote, and develop the welfare of wage earners, job seekers, and retirees of Chicago, in addition to improving working conditions, advancing new job opportunities for employment, and protecting workers' rights. Okay. And then they talk about how Lori Lightfoot signed a bunch of executive orders.
On her last day that she should have signed on her first day. Papal Penguin Gaming says, I haven't noticed any of the doomsday predictions of his office term. Weren't they predicting things would go to heck from day one? I'm still waiting for all of the police officers to resign. And the blood in the streets that was predicted on his winning the election. I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So before we move on, let's head over to the bingo card. You can pull up your own bingo cards at the link on the website. Go to chicagocornertv.com and click on that link for Brandon Bingo. It may ask you to click through again because it's through a Google Doc I put on the website. They want to make sure that you're hitting a safe link. It's fine. It's just going to load up a different bingo card for you. My computer at my office loads up bingo card number 9. My one at home here is showing bingo card number 4. They're all the same, except they're just in different locations because I only had 25 things that I could come up with. So we got, okay. So fix the potholes. That's a gimme. I'm just gonna put an X on
No. You can't do that yet, Ed. He hasn't done that yet. But you can do executive order down in the lower.
Executive order I got down in the corner here.
Okay.
We haven't started Council Wars 2 yet. We won't know till the next city council meeting whether that's begun. Help the homeless. We haven't heard anything on that yet. Again, we're going to follow this like in the next 30 days or so. We're going to give him a month. Restore mental health clinics. Yeah, he's not doing that on day one yet. Eat Chicago pizza. Not to my knowledge.
Although he did eat a lot of Chicago cheesecake, we saw. You shared it in Slack.
Yes, I will.
Or on Twitter.
We'll get to that photo in a bit. What did I have another thing here? Hang on a second. So I'm just looking at my show notes really quick here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna wing a lot of the rest of the show to figure out what I want to actually go through, but we got quite a bit in the show notes here. And he hasn't ended the red light cameras. Is there anything on here? He name dropped Harold. I know he did.
Did he? I did. Well, I don't.
He definitely quoted him during his inauguration speech.
Okay.
If you didn't know, now you know. I think that was a Harold Washington. Someone in the live chat can confirm that. Parking ticket amnesty, that's me wishful thinking. Undo a Lightfoot policy. Is he undone? He hasn't undone one yet. That
He's
we
announced
know of.
things today, Ed. The executive
Yeah.
orders announced things. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the executive orders in the lower right is a gimme because he announced them,
Yeah.
but nothing's actually like changed yet. So I think we have to be fair about what we're Xing out here.
Yeah, and then I had where's the one? Send Arwoody packing.
Not
Not yet. Although the last thing I heard was that he asked her to stay around during the transition for a handful of months, but it's unlikely he's going to be keeping her.
Well, he asked everybody to stick around during the transition, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
For them to either prove themselves or realize that he needed to clean house and shift other people in. Oh, Ian McCarthy corrects
Well,
you got to
you think it
remove
was
the name
Biggie?
drop Harold. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's very possible that Biggie was quoting Harold Washington also. I've heard a lot of people use that phrase.
So my Papal
But
Penguin Gaming says
I'll uncheck it until he specifically mentions him.
migrant support with the executive order. We need to see it actually have some teeth.
Yeah.
We need to see it actually succeed.
Yeah, so we'll check back next either Friday or Tuesday with the card again, and we can check on that. So, okay. So I'm done with the NBC5 article. And, we got the official portrait of Mayor Brandon Johnson that will greet City Hall visitors. And there it is. It's the same photo. It won't let me go any bigger. All right. Let me see if I can zoom in on this thing. Oops, too far. Am I too far? Yeah, I'm zooming way too far now.
Awfully far.
There we are. That's close enough. All right. So when you enter City Hall, you get to see that lovely photo. And while I am taking a slight breather, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. And I want to remind you all that you can support this channel by heading over to patreon.com/Chicago Corner. And
even more important, Ed, because let me while you're taking a breather,
yeah,
can I compliment you?
Thanks.
This is a great show.
It is.
All the more frustrating because YouTube is not monetizing this program because they wanted me to submit our corporate tax forms to YouTube because we're now a business, because they couldn't just switch individual to business, and suddenly our monetization is gone.
Yeah. By the way, did we mention we're a worker co-op now?
Yeah.
Some of you may not be aware.
And YouTube complicates everything with any kind of revenue that we're hoping to gain to cover our show costs and stuff. So everybody, if you can please support us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. I don't know when YouTube is going to resume our monetization. It could be. This is a great show that should be monetized, and it's not, because we're in limbo right now with people at YouTube, customer support that is like non-existent, taking a couple weeks to like basically transfer things so that we can recover our monetization. So this is a great show, Ed, and this is what I was frustrated about beforehand, because it's like this is a show that will get views. You're giving great coverage. You've got a great roadmap here, and leave it to YouTube to basically kick us in the nuts.
That's okay. Because I mean, there's a lot of things that are transitional in life, and unfortunately our transition to a worker co-op is one of them, Jerry. And we know that not everything happens in the blink of an eye. Not even Brandon Johnson's efforts here. He just got in, ladies and gentlemen. So let's give him a little time. But here we are with an article from Block Club Chicago from Quinn Myers and Melody Mercado from yesterday. Brandon Johnson pledges to reopen mental health clinics, push progressive change at inaugural address. Some say we have to wait 20 years for the efforts to take dividends. I don't believe that. We can change the lives of people in Chicago right now, Johnson said at his inauguration. Now, I'm hoping he's right about that. And there he is. See here, they didn't use the color balance on this camera shot either. I don't think it's a little bit blue.
No, that looks a little bit more natural though. The skin tones look natural.
Well, it was better than that video clip for sure. As Brandon Johnson delivered his inaugural address as the 57th mayor of Chicago Monday, he cast the moment as a culmination of decades of activism before pledging to enact much of the wide-ranging progressive platform he was elected on last month. We are all here because of the work of giants who came before us, Johnson said, of prominent Chicago activists and organizers like Jane Addams, Karen Lewis, Ida B. Wells, and Reverend Jesse Jackson. Johnson, a Cook County commissioner and longtime teachers union organizer, took the oath of office Monday morning in front of thousands of Chicagoans at the Credit Union One Arena, also known as the UIC Pavilion, I believe it is, USC Forum, one of those.
Yeah.
In his address, Johnson broadly discussed tackling numerous issues while bringing together disparate communities and parts of the city. He highlighted improving public safety, transportation, schools as well as economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and tackling the city's migrant crisis. As we debate and discuss the solutions to these crises, I want to remind us as we have these conversations that the soul of Chicago is alive and well in each of us, Johnson said. And some criticize him by continuing to say that, the soul of Chicago, blah, blah, blah. But, he's hoping that he's going to bring people together to try to work together and be cooperative in this effort to try and make Chicago a better place. So I'm remaining optimistic for now. But trust me, if we have something to complain about, we'll complain about it right here on Chicago Corner.
We will be fair and we will be critical where we need to be. That's the whole point of the show. It's not to cater to tribal affiliations. If somebody's screwed up and not following through on what they promise, they must be held accountable.
Yeah. So I think I don't want to cover the entire story. Again, show notes are in the description, and you can check out all these articles at another time. But I just want to highlight a few parts of these things here. All 50 alder people got sworn in because it was a city council meeting. Some people don't realize that the inauguration is technically a city council meeting. That's why Lightfoot had to be there, because she had to open the meeting and then start the proceedings that ended up being Brandon Johnson being installed. Okay, so there they are. And there's the Ecto 1 charging up the
No, that's my hard drive spinning, Ed. It does sound like the proton pack charging.
Yeah,
it's not what it
does. It does. It's. I think that's why he doesn't fix it, because it sounds like the Ghostbusters proton pack charging.
It's not something I need to fix. It's it's not something I can fix. It is what it is.
Okay.
Tell me when we have a break between stories, because I have to share something that I need to share.
Okay. Johnson ran on an unapologetically progressive platform with promises to increase taxes on the wealthiest Chicagoans, rethink how the city polices, and renew investment in the city's neighborhood schools. On Monday, he committed to reopening Chicago's shuttered mental health clinics, which were closed in 2012 by Mayor Rahm F. Face Ambassador Emanuel, and have since become a rallying cry for progressives in recent years. I want to make sure that no one ever has to suffer because they do not have access to mental health services, Johnson said in his speech. He also touted,
which he talked about in that. He did. So in the video we showed from 10 years ago, he did reference the mental health clinics. I don't think it was in the highlights I caught, but he did talk about the mental health clinics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. He also touted his support for policies supported by city council progressives, such as the Bring Chicago Home Initiative and Treatment Not Trauma. So these are things that we've brought up before. So it's not going to be surprising to you when you start hearing all the things that he's going to try to put into motion. What's going to be interesting is how City Council reacts to these proposals and how soon Council Wars 2 starts.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough from that article. I was going to just jump into the tribe article in a minute. You wanted to break in with a thing, Jerry?
I was going to save it for the end of the show, but apparently I should probably bring it up now because I would be remiss since I slept late, jumped into editing all the material for tonight's program, and failed to mention that it is my mother's 81st birthday as well as anniversary with my 86-year-old father. So I want to wish them both a happy anniversary, and to my mom, I don't have anything in my glass here, but a happy birthday to my parents. Sorry, Mom, got tied up with work. I just saw a text message from my mom who thought I forgot her. It's like, I didn't forget. It's just I've been like dedicated to the show today and all the shit we got to get done. So Mom and Dad, happy anniversary. I know they don't agree with everything I have to say on the program, but that's fine. We can respectfully disagree, and they're my parents, and I love them, and I want to wish them happy anniversary, and especially my mom a very happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Jerry's mom, and happy anniversary to both of you.
Thank you for indulging me, Ed.
Sure thing. So the tribe had an article as well, which they were still assembling on Monday. So I bookmarked it, and then I'm like, okay, we'll come back when they're done adding stuff to it, because he had a lot going on yesterday. I think he made some trips to some places, and I don't have them all in front of me, but let's get into the article really quick here if I can. This is after inauguration, Chicagoans give advice to Mayor Brandon Johnson by Tonya Hill, Jim Daly, and Tiffany Walden from The Tribe. Everyone got a few words of advice and encouragement for Mayor Brandon Johnson after the late Harold Washington. He's only the second popularly elected black man to lead the city of Chicago. Nadia Dawson's first piece of advice to Johnson is to stick to the morals that got him into office, listening to the people who are doing the work on the ground to help find solutions to some of the city's most challenging problems. Don't allow outside people to corrupt you, said Dawson, a coordinator with Access Living, a disability services and advocacy nonprofit. I don't need somebody who's going to feed me things I want to hear. I would prefer to understand what's going on and why solutions aren't working, and who's stopping those solutions from working, and how we can get back on track. While thinking of words of advice for the new mayor, Black Panther Party Cubs chairman Fred Hampton Jr. recalled the time Johnson visited the Hampton House on August 30th for a celebration of his father, the late deputy chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton Sr.'s birthday. It was a few months prior to the launch of his 2023 mayoral campaign. He called Johnson a breath of fresh air for acknowledging the role racism and mental health, along with other issues, has played in a segregated city like Chicago. And I'm going to take a moment to get a beverage here. Okay. All right. What I'm seeing thus far is he's seeing the potential of people. This is one of the few administrations that openly acknowledges Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. He's coming through the door combating liberalism. In other words, not being afraid to acknowledge two major dynamics that's embedded in history, Hampton said. And just because you acknowledge it doesn't mean it has to be antagonistic. Now, they're glad he's embracing those things, because part of the problem we've had in this city, along with the corruption, the general political corruption, was also the corruption inside the police department and how they, well, Jerry, you just knocked yourself off. How Chicago police and the FBI coordinated to take out Fred Hampton Sr. So we'll have Jerry back in a moment. In the meantime, I'm going to try and get through the rest of this article, and we'll cover a few more things moving forward. Okay. Gayinga, Washington, and Austin native walked away from the inauguration ceremony, loving Johnson's message of unity. He represented her district on the Cook County Board of Commissioners before becoming mayor. I'm just hoping that the excitement of this day will not stop after today, Washington said, after he waited in line to meet Johnson at the City Hall open house that afternoon. Part of his message was for us to unify as a city, no matter what side you're from, and that we can rise from whatever we're dealing with as long as we're helping each other to do it. A little after 10:30 a.m. that morning, thousands of jubilant Chicagoans gathered at my tongue is tied right now, at the Credit Union One Center, formerly the UIC Pavilion, to witness Johnson's inauguration as Chicago's 57th mayor. The ceremony, which was officially a meeting of the city council, opened with a dance performance by the Muntu Dance Theater and a gospel number by Destiny Worship and Praise Choral, accompanied by the Rise Orchestra. They're giving us the details of what happened during the inauguration ceremony. So if you watch that thing later, the tribe has a pretty good rundown of all the things that happened. Alderpersons, 13 of whom are joining the city council for the first time, took the stage first with some of the newbies as well as progressive incumbents, drawing cheers from some sections of the crowd. And then they list a bunch of people that were there. J.B. Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Kwame Raoul, Alexi Janulius, Susanna Mendoza, Tammy Duckworth, Dick Durbin, Danny Davis, Chewy the Stash Garcia, Robin Kelly, Delia Ramirez, Jan Chakowski, State Senators Dan Harmon, Emmanuel Chris Welch, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, City Treasurer Melissa Conyers-Irvin, and Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Cook County Chief Judge Timothy C. Evans, who as an alderman in the 1980s was an ally of then Mayor Harold Washington, rose to deliver the mayor's oath of office to Brandon Johnson.
Everybody can see this in the inaugural video. Sorry, I had to take a nature call break.
Yeah, so like I said, they're describing a lot of what happened in this article, and they're covering it fairly well. I don't know how much of it we're really going to talk about today.
We don't need to. People can watch the video and see who was there.
Yeah, so let's see. Here we go. I want to make this clear, Johnson said, turning to address the newly inaugurated city council. People in Chicago are counting on us to work together to collaborate to make their lives better. Now, we might not always agree, but I won't ever question your motives or commitment, and I'll always do my part to find common ground. So he put out the olive branch. We'll see if they take it. But something tells me it's just a matter of time before Council Wars 2. So after the ceremony, Johnson hosted an open house at City Hall beginning at 2 p.m. While there, he signed 4 executive orders. Okay. Okay. Then he greeted Chicagoans in a receiving line outside the 5th floor office. Okay. What we got? Walt Whitman and the Soul Children of Chicago, dressed in bright red outfits, sang "Lift Every Voice and Sing" with their fist raised. The song is informally considered the Black National Anthem. Oh, they announced it as the Black National Anthem during the proceedings, which I'm sure pissed a whole bunch of people off. I know a bunch of people in the live chat I was watching got angry about that. I'm like, yeah, deal with it. As a representative from the American Indian Center, wait, did they type that wrong? As a representative from the American Indian Center delivered a land acknowledgement, several police district council members stood and turned their backs in protest, and a demonstrator shouted in protest from the crowd. Okay, I missed that. 17th Police District Council member Anthony Tamaz and the Chi Nations Youth Council co-founder told the tribe the protest was directed at the AIC, which painted an All Lives Matter mural in 2020 and allegedly hired an abusive person in a leadership role. Okay, so a little bit of drama going on behind the scenes that the tribe caught wind of. Okay. Following the land acknowledgement, Lightfoot called the city council meeting to order, saying, "Welcome to the peaceful transfer of power." Following an invocation by Reverend Dr. Atmos III, Chicago's first poet laureate, Avery R. Young, performed "And Whereas a Dream Can Blast Off." Okay. Rabbi Shoshana Conover. Okay, yeah, there was a bunch of religious people that spoke. Anna Valencia got sworn in, and then she administered the oath of office to all 50 alder people.
Where did I miss the Chicagoans giving advice while I took a bathroom break?
Yeah, there was just a couple people at the front of the thing.
Okay.
It was just basic things like don't let yourself get corrupted. Be true to your morals, that kind of thing. Some alders, such as Raymond Lopez and Jim Gardner, were booed by members of the crowd,
as they should have been.
Cook County Judge Judith Rice swore Melissa Conyers Irvin in as treasurer. Some members of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, of which Conyers Irvin is a proud member, were in the audience cheering her on. Okay. Grammy-winning gospel artist Karen Clark Sheard, I don't know if I said her name right, who wore a shimmering gold dress, brought many in the crowd to their feet with stirring renditions of The Impossible Dream and Total Praise. Once sworn in, Johnson thanked Lightfoot for her service and her sacrifice, noting that her historic election was an inspiration to many, including his own daughter. He then thanked his family for their love and support. Okay. Growing up, I never imagined I could be on stage like this, Johnson said. Now, make no mistake about it, that doesn't mean I'm not prepared. Okay. And then he did his dad was a carpenter joke.
We saw that.
And yeah, we saw that. Talked about the soul of Chicago. And is there anything else worth reading from here? It was a little.
What was the issue with Aldermort getting booed? I know that I noticed in the show notes.
People don't like him.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a Twitter link in the show notes beyond.
Oh yeah, it's just
was that just
it was just Pratt mentioning that it happened.
It was just play by play
or noticing that it happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah, he says Alderman Jim Gardner gets booed at the inauguration.
I just saw it in the Twitter. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the other Twitter notes to get a sense of what's in there to reference.
Okay. All right. I think that's enough of this article. Let's go to the other thing that I noticed from
sour grapes.
From Sour Grapes.
Yep.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at Sour Grapes headquarters,
right?
I mean Chicago Tribune.
They still haven't acknowledged Paul Vallis's fiscal mismanagement of his own campaign.
No, but he got to publish a commentary on the 15th.
Of course,
titled,
of course they ran it.
Yeah, titled "Political Assault on Standardized Testing Allows Public Schools to Abandon Accountability." Because you're going to complain about some fake BS school thing when the truth is that all you're trying to do is privatize anything that ain't nailed down.
That you can get your greasy fingers on, which Johnson referenced in that 10-year-old video. I mean, nothing's changed.
Yeah. So, what's the next
So what did he go into here in this Twitter article? And who made the commentary? This was from who?
I didn't read the article. I
Okay.
just saw this. I just saw somebody post the headline to it. I mean, I don't even think it deserves our time wasted reading some thing full of a bunch of tropes about standardized testing.
The People's Fabric shared this under the comment or the editorial. The editorials platform for the losers.
Yeah. I think we see. Was there any comments on this? Of course, the sore losers at the Trib give Vallis a platform on Brandon's inauguration day.
Of course they do.
He loves the sound of his own voice so damn much.
I love it.
Certainly, Tribune is balancing this with something about flaws in standardized tests, especially the ones Vallis used, and the connected contractors who made millions of dollars writing them, right? No. Nope, they didn't do that. All right.
Let's be fair, yes, and shift to the actual. Let's be fair and shift to the legitimate actual challenges.
Yes. And close a couple tabs. As Brandon Johnson takes control of Chicago City Hall, massive challenges await from Heather Sharon of WTTW.
And what are those challenges, Ed?
When Brandon Johnson is sworn in as Chicago's 57th mayor on Monday, that happened. He will complete a flat-out sprint that started the moment he declared victory on April 4th and vowed to lead the city in a new direction as it struggles to emerge from the aftermath of COVID-19, blah, 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 while coping with a surge in crime as well as unfulfilled demands for racial justice and economic equity. Johnson had just 41 days to put together his administration and lay the foundation for an ambitious agenda. The shortest mayoral transition in Chicago history. To complicate matters, that 6-week period was studded with difficult moments. Unrest on spring's first warm weekend, the resignation of the city's interim top cop, and fraught negotiations with members of the Chicago City Council. It would have been better to have more time, Johnson told WTTW News Friday, but we'll be ready.
Apparently, everybody thought he was supposed to be ready like on day one.
Yeah.
Well, everything was going to be solved on day one with the PowerPoint he was supposed to share at the inauguration.
You know how a lot of politicians will say, on day one, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. And then you realize
he did.
You still, you got to bring things up at the city council. They got to talk about it. A lot of them are going to complain about it and make changes. And then it might take a week or two until things get passed.
He did sign some executive orders.
But he signed some executive orders on day one. So he did something. Okay. Because of the short transition period, Johnson's administration will be staffed with holdovers picked by Mayor Lori Lightfoot for at least the first few months, including Chicago Department of Public Health Commissioner Allison Arwady, whom Johnson vowed to fire during the campaign. And people have different opinions on why she should be fired, and that's a whole other conversation we can have at another time, because and possibly on Rockfin, because YouTube was probably not going to still let us talk about that. But the decisions Johnson made during the transition offer a glimpse into how he seeks to govern Chicago during a generational shift at Chicago City Hall, as an unapologetically progressive politician with a practical streak. It's an interesting way to frame him. Okay. To deliver the type of transformation we have, I got transportation on the brain. To deliver the type of transformation we have promised, we are going to have to be effective at delivering services to make good on those promises, Johnson said, once again vowing to make Chicago a better, stronger, safer place to live. The clearest sign of the mayor-elect's pragmatic streak was his decision to hit the wrong button here, to pick Rich Judas. Judas just sounds prophetic and wrong.
I don't see where you are. Oh, Rich.
Is it Judas?
Rich Judas. Yeah, probably. Rich Judas.
Okay. Pronounced like Judas.
The former head of the Office of Emergency Management and Communications under Lightfoot and former Mayor Rahm Emanuel to serve as his chief of staff.
Yeah. That decision won acclaim from many of those who backed Johnson's defeated rival Paul Vallis shortly after they warned Chicago was sure to descend into chaos on the mayor-elect's watch.
Blood in the streets!
Yeah. They're already doing hit pieces on Judas, by the way.
Of course they are. He hasn't even started serving yet.
Well, they were talking about how he got admonished back in, I think it was 2017 or something, for giving away free parking at Bulls or Blackhawks games or something like that.
I did see that. Oh, this was the guy. Well, Ed, actually, you know, if past his prologue, this guy certainly decided to engage in, you know, rules for thee, not for me. But it's a minor point.
Yeah. I'm not going to let that bug me right now.
Yeah.
Even though Johnson was nearly a month away from taking office, he faced strident demands to take immediate action to stop future incidents. That anxiety reached a fever pitch after Johnson condemned the violence but said it was not constructive to demonize youth who have otherwise been starved of opportunities in their own communities. Johnson's remarks represented a sharp break with the typical reaction of elected officials after such incidents, especially Lightfoot. They usually call for a crackdown on teens and young adults who broke the law, as well as penalties for their parents, all notes sounded by Lightfoot in her statement. Johnson has said he is determined to unite Chicagoans around a holistic public safety plan that takes a new approach to the surge of crime and violence that began during the peak of COVID-19 pandemic and has yet to fully recede. An anxious business community. Many of the leaders of Chicago's corporations lined up behind Vallis and contributed millions of dollars to his campaign only to see him lose. Many worried they would find their access to the corridors of power limited under Johnson, who won after vowing to represent the interests of working-class Chicagoans and is poised to be the most progressive mayor in the city's history. I'm sorry, I just need to take a breath here.
Well, we're covering a lot of stuff we've already covered before. I think that the point of this was that, you know, you wanted to talk about the chief of staff, his interview, and the fact that, you know, where he came from, you know, what we expect of him, and that public safety is on the top of the agenda. So I don't know that we necessarily have to read through the entire article before moving on.
We don't. Okay. I guess we could move on to the coverage that they had from today.
Migrant centers, which has been in the news cycle for 2 weeks now, right? We've been talking about this for 2 weeks now. The migrant crisis, especially on South Shore, and how residents filed a lawsuit against the city, and how Mayor Lightfoot didn't have a plan. What is Johnson going to do? Clearly, he's engaged. That he showed up at a migrant respite center today to basically look at the crisis firsthand.
Yeah, and I had a couple other videos, but like one of them is Rich Judas talking in an interview, and it's got a lot of noise in the background. It's hard to hear, so you guys can watch that later. It's not.
What was he talking about?
There's nothing new other than just giving a basic Cliff's notes on what he thinks Brandon's going to be doing going forward, and some of that was covered in the article I was going through. There is a video that shows Brandon Johnson arriving at City Hall on first day. We don't need to look at that, but I do want to watch. Hold on a second. He visited a migrant center today.
Yeah,
so
which is important.
So let's get to
ongoing coverage of the migrant crisis here in Chicago, thanks to Governor Abbott of Texas.
No time to waste today for Mayor Brandon Johnson, especially when it came to addressing the issue of migrant arrivals and housing in the city.
CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov caught up with the new mayor at one of the city's respite centers.
Piotrowski Park and the respite center that is here now is one of several stops that Mayor Brandon Johnson made on his first full day in office. Up until now, he says he's been briefed on the issue, but This afternoon, he saw firsthand how the arrival of asylum seekers and migrants into the city is putting a strain on many city resources.
I'm here today because I needed to see it firsthand.
Mayor Brandon Johnson headed to the 12th District Police Station, where asylum seekers have been sleeping on the floor for days. Then he headed to Piotrowski Park in Little Village, a migrant respite center that's been filled or almost filled to capacity since opening Saturday. The mayor spent some time outside. I asked when he planned to name his newly created deputy mayor of refugee, migrant, and immigration rights.
The timing on this, of course, as soon as possible, but we have to go through an entire vetting process to make sure that we have the right person, the right fit.
Johnson didn't give specifics about what or when a more coordinated city plan may be in place. Only efforts are underway.
Everyone recognizes that the city of Chicago has been a real model and an example of how we treat people. And working at every single level of government, the county, the state, and the federal level for resources, that's going to be all of our collective work.
Shortly after the mayor left, another dozen or so migrants arrived here to a respite center almost at capacity again. Mayor Johnson spent about 10 minutes at both the police district and here at the respite center. He says his administration is actively looking for other resources to help deal with this ongoing and urgent issue. In Little Village, Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News.
It's going to be interesting to see as he rolls out solutions, or at least first steps to figure out how to deal with this beyond putting migrants in shuttered schools that should have been reopened for students.
Yeah, so I mean, he's visiting the centers. He's basically figuring out the problem, and we'll see what he does in the coming days. It's still too soon to really say he's not doing anything yet.
Of course it is, but you know look. You can't satisfy his critics. There's nothing. No, he could eliminate all taxes on everybody, and they'd still complain. Okay, his critics are focused on one thing, and you know what that is, Ed, don't you? A black man who represents labor won the mayoral election. That's all they're focused on. A black man who basically was trying to advocate for reallocating resources to get to the rich sources that are affecting his community and the rest of the communities across Chicago. That's all they can see. And you know what's sad? They don't even realize they're racist. I commented on this with you in a Slack. I was sharing some tweets with you, and I'm like, these assholes don't even realize that they're racist in their blind hatred of this man who hasn't even been sworn in yet. He was yesterday, finally. But all they can look to is doom and gloom and literally root for his failure instead of figuring, you know what, he won. We got to deal with it. Let's see what we can do for the best instead of just focusing on the fact that he's finally actually standing up and representing the interests and the concerns of not just the working class, but his abandoned community on the south and west sides.
Yeah, short circuit brain. To figure out what am I doing next.
We were going to beyond the migrant crisis. Ray Lopez.
Yes.
2.0.
Okay. All right.
I just needed to inject.
So this is our challenge. Yeah, this is our challenge right now. We have the 7-minute Raylo video challenge. How much of this 7 minutes can we put up with?
Let's just listen to all of it
until we
expose him.
So and like I said earlier in the show, he says things and you start agreeing with him, and then he finds a way to make you angry at some of the things he's saying, and then he goes back and forth like that throughout the entire situation. Okay, now I got an ad playing, so I gotta wait for that to roll while I'm doing that. But here we go. Okay, so here he is in all his yellow polo shirt glory. Ray Lopez.
Ugh, it's a horrible call.
Oh, I got the sound off.
These individuals who have been shipped to our
let me start at the beginning.
We were woefully underprepared in our efforts to help these individuals who have been shipped to our city. And I think many people have used them as pawns for political gains. The fact of the matter is this, that we could have, with the amount of money we've spent to this point, we could have built shelters for these people to be welcomed in, to get medical care for, to have housing for.
He's not wrong, except we already have homes and places where people could be housed. It's just that nobody wants to house them. Now, the question is, would Ray Lopez have even voted for it in the city council meeting? We don't know.
But we haven't lived up to the moment with thousands of migrants and asylum seekers descending on the city of Chicago. There's never been a clarion call for the city to unite to help them. Lori Lightfoot, on the other hand, has stoked racial fears and further divided.
I should.
Oh, he stoked the racial fears too. Yeah. This is projection from him. Complete projection.
I should point out that this video was posted by Fox Digital yesterday. He's talking. He's basically in this interview when Lori Lightfoot is still mayor. That's what that's why he's even mentioning her at this point.
The city and how she's been trying to secretly and quietly supplant them into neighborhoods that were unaware and have now become unwelcoming to those individuals and their families, forcing them to find refuge in police district stations across the entire city of Chicago. I am cautiously optimistic about the new administration. The fact of the matter is this: if I have a mayor who's willing to take my phone call, that at least gives the opportunity to argue my case on whatever the policy discussion or issue that we have before us. And I have not had that opportunity for 4 years under the life.
Now he's saying Lori wouldn't take his call.
Right? Are we to assume that he really honestly thinks Brooke Johnson's not going to take his calls, given how I want to say gracious Brandon Johnson has been with every one of his adversaries up to now? I don't think so. I think Johnson's going to take his phone call, whether he agrees or not. He's going to shut him out.
And to be the least amount of fair to Raylo, he said he was going to be cautiously optimistic. Yeah. So, again, let's see what happens. Let's see how Brandon Johnson and the rest of City Council get along. It's good. I mean, yeah, because either Raylo is going to be Brandon Johnson's newest best friend, or he's going to be the next Ed Verdoliak.
The Lightfoot administration. So hopefully that bodes well for the rest of our relationship moving forward. He is willing to have those conversations. The question will be ultimately, are you just listening to me or are you hearing me?
Well, what does that
mean? If
you're
just listening to me, then all you're doing is allowing me to play lip service.
He's explaining.
No, he can listen to you and he can still disagree, right? Just because, look, if he's gracious enough to listen to you, I would say he's also hearing you. That doesn't mean he has to agree with you, right? Lopez assumes that listening means hearing means you have to agree and just do what he wants, which is not the case here.
Yeah. Well, he goes to explain it, how his perception of that.
Just listening to me, then all you're doing is allowing me to play lip service to say my piece and then walking down your own path without hearing anything that I just told you. So I think that's where I'm cautiously optimistic, is that at least I know he's listening. Only time will tell if he's hearing what we have to say. I do feel sorry for him having to walk into a humanitarian crisis of this proportion, because the city of Chicago has a number of issues that he has to tackle, starting obviously with public safety. But this was a totally avoidable situation. Had the city council, had the mayor chosen to act instead of gaslighting everyone at every turn, as opposed to pointing fingers at Greg Abbott or others. Look, Lori Lightfoot, her socialist enablers, they all said, make this
socialist enablers.
There he goes. He's pandering and throwing out the red meat to the right.
Yeah, there was nothing socialist about Lightfoot. Or
at all. She was Rom 2.0, 2 inches shorter.
Unchecked welcoming city. Somebody took us up on that offer, and now we are falling behind in what we said was our ideals in this city. And if we had planned and used our resources better, we wouldn't be in the midst of a humanitarian crisis now. I think he's made a step in the right direction by bringing interim superintendent Fred Waller to the equation. Fred is very knowledgeable both in the department, in the city, and in constitutional policing, all of which are important. We need to
constitutional policing. It's like he's looking for dog whistles specifically for Fox News.
Yep.
Address the morale of the department. We need to focus on getting out of the consent decree so that our officers
Are you
can
kidding?
understand.
Getting out of this consent decree, like it's some kind of shackle.
Yeah.
For them to
How long
actually act with integrity.
How long have we waited for the consent decree? And he wants to repeal it to basically pander to his fraternal order of police buddies. And get rid of all the accountability that we've been pushing for, not to handcuff the Chicago Police Department, but to make sure they're accountable for situations like Anjanette Young, Laquan McDonald, Adam Toledo, all the stuff that they would have gotten away with scot-free had there not been these little cameras on their chests to show us what's really going on that unfortunately gets buried when investigators are trying to figure out what really went down. That impacts everybody.
And their role in a 21st century department so that they understand how they can go back to policing without having to feel like they are going to be railroaded and scapegoated at the first mistake any person makes. Remembering that they are human after all, and humans make mistakes quite often, and not every mistake should be viewed as some intentional racist trope, but sometimes a mistake is just a mistake. You have to be willing to call out bad actors and bad behavior with no ifs, ands, or buts. And I think that's where the city and the nation, for that matter, had some trepidation when we saw the downtown takeovers of a couple weeks ago, where the mayor-elect said, he doesn't condone any of this behavior.
Pause it,
but then went on to quantify it as well. But I understand.
That was not a takeover. That was the police standing down and letting it happen. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that from what we heard from Chicagoans who were down there, who were calling for help and seeing police cars drive by and not respond, while other Chicagoans were helping protect other Chicagoans during the melee, whatever you want to call it, during the crowd. Here we go again, me missing words. The chaos of what was going on down there. So for him to claim that the police had no control, they had all the control. They stood down because they disagreed with the fact that Brandon Johnson won the election, and they were going to be certain to try to create the narrative to the rest of Chicago that the reason all that chaos happened was because we had a new black mayor elected, when they should have and could have responded.
Yeah, well, and I would say that it's more that because Vallis wasn't elected.
Yeah,
it's probably more of a more accurate statement. Yeah.
Understand why you do it. That's not the right answer. And I hope that Fred Waller and others will tell him that you don't need to make excuses for bad behavior. We can get by holding the line and telling people when they're right and when they're wrong. And you have to put resources out there to show that we're trying.
Yeah, he's got the pro cop mentality with this thing.
He's an authoritarian. He's an authoritarian.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And so he can't understand the statement that Brandon Johnson made, so he has to misinterpret it.
Yep. Ian is absolutely right. These bootlicking aldermen are the worst. He's aligned with the
trying to make an effort
part of Antifa. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm not clear what you mean. The FA part of, I think you meant Antifa, but I'm not sure what you meant with the acronyms.
Oh, he's the FA part of Antifa.
What does the FA part mean?
Antifa part is fascism.
Oh, the fascist part of Antifa. Okay, got it. Thank you,
Okay.
Andrew. Yeah,
All
right? Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that fascism is kind of here already. They just don't want to recognize it.
The marriage of corporatism and government. Ladies and gentlemen, it's here. It's been here for a while. We are living in a fascist country. So long as the corporations lobby and guide and dictate what goes on, our elected representatives, they ain't representing us, baby. They're representing their donors of the corporations and Wall Street and everything else. But I digress.
Effort, not only to support law enforcement, not only to support neighborhoods and public safety, but also to show that we're giving the youth and those who need a second chance all the opportunities in the world to write their own personal lives if they are so willing to do so. And Chicago does a phenomenal job, believe it or not, providing opportunities for youth, providing opportunities for returning citizens, and providing opportunities who seek to change their lives.
Okay, I think he's got rose-colored glasses on, or he's moderately delusional.
Both. It could be both.
But what I
no,
can
you know
say,
what? He's delusional. It's not rose-colored glasses. He's clear. You know what though, Ed? He's willfully. I don't even think he's delusional. He's disingenuous. He's disingenuous.
Yeah, sure. If he even means half of the things he says about wanting to do right by the youth or the people of the city, then I think he will make efforts to make to connect whatever bridges Brandon Johnson reaches out with him on making things happen for the city. Because it sounds like if Brandon Johnson can make Ray Lopez look decent in a situation, or make him look like he was part of the solution instead of part of the problem, then I think he'll go along with it.
Yeah, he would certainly serve himself that way if he could, when he can.
The problem is oftentimes it's not looked at as a viable option because no leader has vocalized that it's up to the individual to take control of their own destiny.
Mentality right there. It's like, yes, you need to be self-reliant in some things. You need to be responsible for your own actions, et cetera, but it's not just that. If you're part of a society that basically has stacked all the chips against you, what kind of results are you going to expect? So for him to think that people are just going to pick themselves up by their bootstraps or do whatever types of things they can on their own end and without any type of advantage or any incentive to do the things that he thinks needs to be done, then you're setting yourself up for failure.
You need boots to have bootstraps.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a better way of putting it.
And I think that is where he can have the most impact as our new mayor, saying, look, you want resources? Here's X, Y, and Z. If you don't take it, it's on you now. Anything that brings tourists to the city of Chicago, I'm all for.
Of course he is.
NASCAR,
of course he is. That's where all the tip guns are going.
What it needs to do, which is be an economic engine for the city of Chicago. But what concerns me is the fact that in exactly 1 year from now, 1 year and probably a month, 1 year and 5 weeks, we're going to have 100,000 Democratic delegates, spouses, and all of them descending on our city.
And about 50,000 protesters, if I have to guess.
That's what I look forward to.
Yeah, when we definitely want to look, if you know ahead of time that you're going to be having an event, an action, a protest, or any type of event against anyone in the duopoly around the time of the Democratic National Convention, and you want to tell us about that event before it happens, get in touch with us at Chicago Corner. I don't know how well our emails are working these days, but you can hit us up on Twitter. Is it working?
Our emails are accepting incoming messages. We have to change our security certificates.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, Gmail is bouncing back our Gmail to other Gmail accounts, not to all accounts. But if you have anything happening,
once again, screwed by Google.
Yeah, let me finish. We have a platform here by which We've done all the groundwork. We've laid all the groundwork. You can come here and tell us about your event, promote it, talk about it in advance, and that will hopefully help drive eyes, attention, and more participation in your on-the-ground event. So always email us, info or jerry@chicagocorner.tv.
Yeah. And also you can hit us up on Twitter.
Yes.
At Chicago Corner TV.
Yes.
If you something on your radar or something you want on our radar.
Oh, Art, we can only hope.
This is going to be another riot.
It'll certainly spice things up, though, won't it, Art?
Well, hopefully we won't have a situation like Old Man Billy had when he.
Go!
Of course, with the torches, that might give the cops excuses to bring the hoses out again.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not so great.
That's true.
Yeah. So once again, we have to remind Raylo that like when Old Man Daly said the police are not there to create disorder, they are there to preserve disorder. Neither of those things is what they're supposed to be doing.
I want to thank Dominic Palella, who tipped $2 on Rockfin, and Dominic shares with us on Rockfin. Let's have Ray meet with Brandon in his ward and have it televised. This way, Ray can have Brandon listen to how he wants migrants welcomed into his ward. For example, are there vacant buildings suitable for housing and taking care of them? What opportunities does Ray offer? Put your money where your mouth is, Ray.
Yeah, Ray.
Get, drag your ass out of the wheelbarrow of oatmeal or whatever else that looks like. Whatever else that looks like.
I'm still so glad I made that.
Yeah, it's great. Because I'm sure Mayor Johnson is willing to listen. He's already demonstrated a willingness to do so. So.
Can I say I'm so happy your computer is actually behaving today, Jerry?
Yes, can you tell? I'm really well, once I got rid of that plugin, suddenly everything's moving really smoothly. We have a professionally produced show.
Because like for me to do that, I have to click over to a different tab, and then I can't watch the live stream chat in there and pop those up on the screen. And then I got,
and I'm happy to report I'm only at 42% memory. So yeah, I've got things under control over here. Finally, now that I realize those Chrome plugins were causing the problem.
Yeah. So day by day we get better and better.
That's right.
Okay. Let's see where are we at? We're 5 minutes and 40 seconds here. I think we can what do you call it? We can tough it out until the end here.
Yeah, we're almost there. And by the way, constitutionalpolling.org, Dominic, thank you for your comment on Rockfin and your tip, and we hope we are doing you proud. Dominic is one of the, I want to say he's probably been our most gracious patron here at Chicago Corner. He infused a $500 donation last year when we were getting on our feet that helped us with our operations as we were promoting our food and toy drive last December to help promote it. And Dominic has been an absolutely wonderful supporter of the show. And we couldn't do it without supporters and patrons like Dominic. So thank you, Dominic.
Yeah. So, and he definitely invited to the next pizza party when we figure out when that is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's try and tough it through the rest of the Raylo.
And it's really going to be a challenge for the new mayor who takes office in 3 days to whip this city back into shape from a public safety standpoint.
I bet he wants to be whipped.
We have to keep our guests safe. We have to showcase our city as being a safe place to come. And if we don't get all of that right over the next few months, if we don't create a safe public transportation system, if we don't have clean airports that aren't homeless shelters,
dude, let the homeless sleep at the airport, you dick. Schmuck.
No one's going to want to come here. Everyone's going to want a remote convention.
They weren't bothering you. at the airport.
Of course not.
Ray. They were just trying to find a place to shelter
during cold weather. He's a dick, man. Look, he's an authoritarian dick. I've said it a million times before. What strikes me as really, really disappointing about Alderman Lopez is the fact that, you know, as a openly gay man, which I have, great, wouldn't you be much more sensitive to the issues of marginalized, vulnerable people, given the fact that you're part of a faction of people that are routinely marginalized and discriminated against? It's just really, it's interesting to me that people like him or Lori Lightfoot, who lean on their identities, don't have the sensitivity towards other marginalized groups or the discrimination that they themselves have had to suffer through. And that's what's really disappointing and shocking.
Yeah, it's a weird combination to have such an authoritarian streak.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That. I mean, it's like contradictory in a way. It may be why we hear him do these types of diatribes where he seems to want to help people, but then he's got a really weird way of showing it.
Yep. He sure does. It doesn't fall into line.
So,
it's not sincere. It's not genuine. There's a clear contradiction there.
I think it's imperative that the new mayor listens to what our concerns are and our suggestions are, how to get the city up to speed for when the convention happens. That is a big platform for him, particularly being a new mayor who gets the stage in his home city to welcome everyone. You're not going to want to welcome people if people are still getting mugged on the Michigan Avenue, or if people are panhandling in the airport or urinating on the L ride into the city.
Thanks, Raylo.
So he's got his challenges. There are solutions. It's just a matter, again, is he going to hear what needs to be done?
Okay. So, I mean, that's Raylo. He seems to want to help. He
says he does, Ed. It's performative, man.
I can't imagine
for Fox. He wants to make it look like he's a good guy, but then he's also throwing out the red meat to the conservatives or the right-wing factions that hate and are xenophobic against migrants.
So what we're going to have to see in the coming days, especially when we get a few city council meetings when they get a few city council meetings under their belt, is where did Raylo stand on a lot of those issues that they're trying to pass and move forward?
Yeah.
And was he obstructive, or was he helpful in the contributions he made, whether it was, debate on the floor, or whether he came up with ideas to make legislation better, or whether he was basically just a continuing roadblock while he gave lip service like we just saw on Fox News.
Exactly. And that's the thing. He runs to Fox News. He runs to Fox News because that's his base. The xenophobes.
Yeah. So there's that Raylo thing. And then and then we're into the more things part of the show notes. That's me. I'm sprung a leak over here. Yeah, see, Oreo knows. All right, so so coming up, I talk about food stuff. Wait, are we still on? Did we go full screen on this? What happened there?
No, we're here. Oh, I think you hit the wrong.
Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Mark your calendars. Chicago Food Truck Fest is back on Friday, the 17th. Is that right? July 17th. Oh, July 17th.
You bite me.
No, that ain't right. Why are they Oh, okay. That's a little stupid icon. That's not the actual month. Starting the 19th of May and lasting all summer long. Daily Plaza will be home to local food trucks each Friday afternoon. So you can go to chicago.gov/foodtruckfest to get more information. And the little graphic says every Friday, rain or shine, from May 19th through October 6th at Daily Plaza at 50 West Washington Street. So if you're into supporting your local food truck biz, that's one way to do it. And what else do we have? Oh, yes. We mentioned it earlier, and let's see if I can load this one up. Yeah. Brandon got to eat cheesecake today. Sadly, he didn't save a slice for us. Eli's did a whole thing where they made a gigantic 500-pound cheesecake. Check this huge thing out. That's amazing. I want a cheesecake like...
That's a lot of money. In this case, that's a lot of cheesecake.
Yeah, that's a lot of cheesecake. I want a cheesecake like that. Now I want cheesecake. Damn it, Jerry. What are those cherries? Are those like gigantic cherries?
No, strawberries.
Those are strawberries.
Cheesecake. Yeah.
Oh, it's a strawberry cheesecake. Well, I've had cherry cheesecakes too. But yeah, those wouldn't be. Those would be like colossal cherries if they were that big.
Yes!
Yes. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I saw this and I was like, what? If it'll even load. Is my stream on?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. I can see you.
All right, I'm waiting. I'm hitting a...
In the meantime, while we wait for Ed's screen to load, a word from our sponsor.
Are you a cane or crutch user seeking greater support on the beach, golfing, gardening, or going up or down stairs? How about a tip that freestands both canes and crutches when not in use? Regular cane and crutch tips won't work on all surfaces. You've tried the rest, now get the best. Introducing the Easy Walk by Sandpad Brands, the only cane and crutch pad providing stability on sand, grass, snow, mud, rocky terrain, as well as regular paved surfaces.
The shameless self-promotion portion of the show.
Yeah, I think those are pretty cool. I think you can get those at easywalkpads.com, right, Jerry?
Thank you. That's where people can find them if they need them. And I hope you don't. But if you use canes or crutches, there you go. It'll help stabilize your mobility.
And if you forgot the website address for that, don't worry about it. Head over to chicagocornertv.com, and there is a link to Easy Walk Pads on the website right now.
Thank you for adding that, Ed.
Which I'm sure Jerry will ask me to update with a more specific graphic that he would like up there. But right now it's got the Easy Walk thing on there, and it should be good enough.
I didn't know you added it, so thanks. I'll take a look at it. Hopefully I won't have any editorial commentary.
Yes. Speaking of things I added to the website, if you go to chicagocornertv.com, you will also see that remember how I recommended you guys read books once in a while? Well, I got a little widget in there that shows all the books that we're suggesting, including the one by our guest that was supposed to appear tonight. She's going to be here next week. So
Veronica,
check out
Veronica Areola, who also has a book reading this Saturday, which I will promote Saturday to remind Friday night, to remind people to go Saturday, and I'll have something prepared for that. Veronica cannot join us Friday, unfortunately. I asked if we could rebook her from tonight to Friday. She's not available. She will be back next Tuesday to talk about her work as a police district, her work on the police district commission in her area. But she also is an author, and we'll talk more about that quickly Friday before her book reading on Saturday.
Yeah, and a lovely comment from Arturo. Those strawberries symbolize every citizen Johnson will let down.
Art, you're getting more nihilistic than I am. And I'm pretty
nihilistic. You know what? I'm fine. I'm fine embracing Arturo as the Eeyore of our show.
Okay. No, I don't have a
if
problem
he's
with it
cool
at
with
all.
that.
Let me tell you something, Art. I'm sorry, Ed. For all the years that I've known Art, he's been wonderfully idealistic and optimistic, and actually like helped put me back on a better path when I'm down.
Yeah.
But I think maybe because Art's worked within city government and had a firsthand view of what goes on where the sausage is made, he's, as I said, a little bit more nihilistic than I am about all this.
Yeah, he says he's slowly becoming the Joker. Art, I think I'm gonna be really happy when you get pleasantly surprised by Mayor Brandon Johnson.
And if we're wrong, you can rub it in our faces.
Yeah.
But to your Joker, Art,
well, here I am.
They planned that.
Ah.
All right, and finally, because it's funny, Chicago Seltzerland 2023 is coming to Chicago.
In a Bill Curtis voice.
Yes, Saturday, June 10th. And has varying prices. Get ready, Chicago, because we're bringing our 2023 tour to your city. On January, June 10th, January, June 10th. What the hell is wrong with me today? On Saturday, June 10th, we're turning the lot at Plumbers Union into a hard seltzer paradise. A hard seltzer paradise? Enjoy this one-of-a-kind outdoor experience as you spend the afternoon tasting over 100 unique hard seltzers right in the West Loop, setting the stage for your Seltzerland highlight reel of alcoholism. I added the of alcoholism, but really, if you're sampling 100 different hard seltzers in an afternoon, you're not going to remember the rest of that afternoon. You're just not. While you're drinking your favorite bubbly, there will be tons of entertainment. Play Seltzer Pong. Seltzer Pong? Lemonade Ladder. Golf and cornhole with your crew. Dance to the DJ beats. Take pics in the inflatable bubble booth. And go home with all the seltzer swag you could dream of.
I'm sorry, Ed. I inadvertently.
Oh, that's okay. Because all I'm doing is just reading this thing.
I had some. Here, let me run this real quick. Wait, hang on. Where is it? Why is this not clicking right?
Seltzerland. I don't know if that's breaking news. Oh, there's real breaking news? Wait, hold on. Your mic's not on.
Yeah, some real breaking news came in from the Tribune. I just saw in my email. Just share at the end of the show here.
Oh,
not to end the show. Not to end the show in a downer.
Oh, they've been talking about that for a week, though. They just keep
they?
saying it's breaking.
Yeah, monkeypox resurgent in Chicago triggers warnings ahead of Pride Month International Mr. Leather Conference. What do Pride Month and International Mr. Leather Conference have to do with monkeypox?
Apparently, it has spread in the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
Not exactly sure if that has to do with certain types of wardrobe and how certain things like that spread due to contact, but that could be what it is.
All right. Well, it just popped in my email, so I just wanted to share it real quick. You can all look at the Tribune, and I guess the story broke at like,
So
what,
again,
6:45 or something? No, 7:29 is when they posted it.
So once again, wash your hands, soap and water.
Be vigilant.
You all know how now, because during that was the one important thing everybody learned during that crazy lockdown time was how to wash your hands. Super important.
Yeah.
So
how to engage in normal hygiene.
Yeah, regular hygiene.
Yeah. How to practice regular hygiene, which people should be practicing anyway, washing your hands and keeping yourselves clean and presentable.
Yeah. So remember, pick up your Brandon Bingo card. You can find that at ChicagoCornerTV.com as well. We got a link at the top of the thing there. You'll see it. It'll say get your Brandon Bingo card. You can
behind that alley. You know the one.
Yeah, behind the alley. You know the one. Yeah. So, and if you want to make Chicago styles of pizza at home, head over to realdeepdish.com.
Don't make me hungry yet.
There's recipes there. It's actually really easy to make deep dish. If you're not invited to one of my parties, you can still at least learn how to make your own. So with that said, support local business when you can. Be nice to each other. Hydrate. Drink plenty of fluids. Yeah, well, I mean, those are fluids, but I mean, you gotta hydrate.
Yeah, I got the normal stuff I haven't dipped into yet, the water.
Eat pizza once in a while.
We had to celebrate Brandon Johnson's ascendancy with this stuff. So
yeah, we did.
Not that we ever don't look for a reason to celebrate with this stuff, but it was a special occasion. So now I'll go into the regular hydration.
So be good to yourselves and others, and be kind to yourself and your stream cat.
You have something you want to say?
It's like,
congratulations, Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, that's what he says. So good night, everybody. Join us on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, where Jerry will be flying the Chicago Corner spaceship, and I think Oreo's navigating, but I don't remember if he knows how to drive anymore.
Mr. Oreo, warp factor 9. Wait, is there a warp factor? No, warp factor. Yeah, warp factor. There's a warp factor 9. Goes up to 10, I think.
Yeah.
Or in our case, to 11.
Yeah.
Warp factor 11.
Yeah, Arturo says Oreo owes him money. And so good night, everybody. I got to find the button.
Which one are we using tonight?
I don't remember. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong tab. Let me flip over to the other one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Good night, everybody.
So we did the Easy Walk promo.
Yep.
And let's see. Is the F this noise on the regular outro?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then I don't have to.
Nope.
So then I don't have to do that. So then instead, I leave you with this.
Happy premise number 1. Happy premise number 1. There are no aliens. Happy premise number 2. Happy premise number 2. There is no giant foot trying to squash me. Happy premise number 3. Happy premise number 3. Even though I feel like I might ignite, I probably won't. So what do we do? Keep it together. Keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together.
Fuck this noise, man.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.